Salut! There are many magic tricks in the realm of articles, and I personally love showing you one after another because it makes me look smart, right? But what if I don't know articles too well? One of the first steps is to get the difference between them and then learn them. Dear Lord, why am I even recording with this guy? What this lad doesn't know is that even the easiest of them, the indefinite articles that behave pretty much the same like in English, are easy up to a point. This is exactly why in the class I will have specified different levels, because you should learn the basics straight away, the A0, but you might need some extra knowledge like cases and the role of words in sentences in order to get all of them. Thank you for the support and the feedback so far. Check out the time markers down below to find a specific topic and keep helping this channel in the way you see fit, because you are the ones that keep it alive. Indefinite articles, let's go. Right, so indefinite articles. There are some things that you would like to know probably before we even start, and that's why I linked this video up here, talking about the articles in general. There are some ideas that you might want to know about when to use definite articles and so on. This is the first episode of this season, and I really recommend you to check it out. There's also in that episode some specifics about indefinite articles, how articles in general depend on cases and so on. That's why I would really suggest you look at that first if you're new to these topics. This episode will not necessarily cover the indefinite articles and how to use them in the general context. It's more of an idea about the problems that might arise, because there can be a few, and that's the main thing we're going to be talking about today. I'm going to go very quickly through which ones there are and go into more detail about some common mistakes, some common problems that arise with the indefinite articles. Because the reason I'm saying this is because when you look at this table, right, there's not really a lot to be talking about around here. This is this is exactly what you need to know about the indefinite articles in terms of new words. So there are very few of them. I cannot select this. No, I hope I can. Okay. So there are very few of them. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 words, 6 new words that you need to know. Masculine, neuter in singular are the same. In general, feminine and neuter plural are the same, but in this situation you can see that all the plurals are the same. So it cannot get easier than this. You see this correlation between masculine and neuter in both nominative accusative with un, also in genitive dative with unui and unui. So it's really not a lot, as I said, to cover here. What you want to know is that un means the English or an, o as well, un as well. And then niște is some. And basically up to, let's say, an A0, A1 kind of level, this is all you need to know. After that, when you get probably to, like, let's say A2, B1, this will make more sense, the second part here at the bottom. And I will get into more detail later on. So for now, if you learn un, o, niște, that's it. That's all you got. That's all you need to know, basically. So, as I said, the A0 level, the nominative accusative. These are a few examples of the usage of the indefinite article. You have un, o, and un again. So, lângă copacul din stânga văd un câine, câine being masculine. The way you say a dog is un. O pisică stă cocoțată pe sobă. The way you say a cat is o, because it's feminine. And then finally, prietenii noștri, spelling, well, I'm missing an ow here. So our friends have bought an apartment in the center. Apartment being neuter, you put un. Nothing too crazy. If you know this and you're just a beginner, you're pretty much done, let's say. Probably you might have some questions that probably later on in this video, those will be answered. But for now, if you know un, o, un, and then some, which is niște. So let's take an example here with a plural just to make sure it's all 100% clear. If you had câini, now it's in Romanian, câini, or you had, say, here, pisici, and here, let's say, apartamente. So regardless of singular and plural, whether you see many dogs, whether some cats stay cocoțate, this is a very Romanian word, it's basically hanging kind of on the sobă, and either you have some cats or some apartments, all three of them will take niște. And that's it. Niște doesn't care about gender. Cool. So that's the basics. Now, let's get to something a bit more advanced. So that was nominative accusative. This is like probably, I would say, somewhere about 60-70% of what you need to use. But then you will have some situations like this with genitive and dative. If you didn't see, or if you are interested in cases, there is a video about that right up here. And those are taken separately because they mean different things. Even though in this table, genitive and dative have exactly the same forms of the indefinite article, the genitive means something, the dative means something else. So in genitive, the indefinite articles mean of some, so it's about a possessor. This is covered more in detail in the cases video. It's about a possessor. So if we talk about șapca asta e probabil a unui copil. So the possessor of the cap is probably the kid. So that's why a unui copil. We will talk about this in a future video of this season. And a unui copil of a kid. So the possessor is the kid. Mirosul tipic al unei cărți tipărite este de neuitat. Again, it's the same idea of a, and the possessor of the smell is a book. That's why it's in genitive. A book. Then here must be the place of some TVs. So the TVs are the possessors of a place. Quite makes sense, right? It's quite logical, quite straight away. This is genitive, basically. It's quite an easy case. And the possessor is TV, some TVs. And that's how you used right now unui, unei, unor to show the possession of cap, the smell, the place. Now, looking at the right side here, dative. So this one is a bit more tricky, and I know dative usually is a headache for some, but will be discussed properly in season 11 cases, dative case. So when you talk about dative, you have a receiver. So the action goes to or for someone, for a or for some, to a or to some. So for example, I give to a kid this book, right? Those are a bit more advanced. I don't know if this is really A2 or maybe even B1, I would say, to fully understand this idea. But bear with me, I'll try to make it as clear as possible. So, de ce nu îi arăți unui băiețel cum se joacă badminton? So in this situation, let's say you have a group of kids that you're maybe a coach, or maybe you're just like, I don't know, having a few cousins or friends around, and somebody asks you, why don't you show to a boy how to play badminton? So unui băiețel here is the receiver of the action of showing. Yeah? So when you show to somebody something, you show, as I said, to somebody. So that somebody is a boy. That basically is the receiver. Then, second one. Am vrut să îi povestesc unei verișoare despre călătoria mea, dar ea a plecat. Here, you have probably a couple of cousins, and you're saying that to your friend maybe, I wanted to tell my cousin about my trip, but she left. Again, receiver of the action of telling a story, the story about your trip. So your cousin receives the action of, a cousin receives the action of telling the story. And finally, unor colegi nu le place să facă pauză de prânz. This one is a bit more interesting. I took this specifically because with ai plăcea, well, if you go to A2B1, you should know this already, but I'm just saying for the more beginners, if you used to like, the subject cannot be in nominative because there is no subject. So you actually don't like something in Romanian, it likes to you. So you're the receiver of the action of liking, which can twist with your brain a bit, but that's how it works in Romanian. So, unor colegi nu le place să facă pauză de prânz. So, basically in English you would say this, some colleagues don't like to have a lunch break or to do a lunch break. In Romanian, you would say, you would understand it as, to some colleagues, it is not liked to do a lunch break. Regardless of the translation, what you have to know here is that the subject is in dative. Well, the English subject, let's say it's in dative. So, unor colegi, to some colleagues. So they receive the action of liking. So that's the indefinite article in dative. And now let's get to the juicy part, to the fun part. I hope this makes sense. And there are three things you should really know about indefinite articles. And I will put for each one of them probably a level, because they are kind of increasingly more difficult. This is, I assume, something like A0. It's extremely easy. It's something that everybody should know about the indefinite articles in Romanian. Indefinite articles in singular means one. Yeah. So let's take this, let's think about this for a second. You have in English a boy, but also you have one boy. You have I don't know, cat, also one cat. Well, coming to Romanian, this is the same thing. You have un băiat for both a and one. But why is that important? Because, well, you cannot really use the number unu, and I have heard this quite a few times. You cannot use unu leu, you cannot use unu or una pisică. You say un, yeah? So if you want to say one plus noun, that one becomes un or o. So when you say I want just one apple from the right, I don't know, on the shelf, for example, I want just one apple is vreau doar un măr din dreapta. Yeah, so this one here will become un. Same with feminine and same with neuter. So careful never to say this. That's the main takeaway. Cool. So if that was the easiest one, let's see what the more difficult ones are gonna tell us. Number 2 here, the indefinite articles can change their role in the sentence. Okay, this one needs a bit more explanation, right? But bear with me for a second. So you have those 3 ones. We're talking about nominative accusative because it's just easier, right? So this applies, by the way, all of this applies to genitive dative as well, but we're just talking about nominative accusative because it's just more common and it makes more sense. So un can become unul, o can become una, and niște can become unii and unele. So if you are familiar with Romanian already, you can spot straight away that unul, una, unii, unele, this looks like the definite article, right? So you add the definite article to the indefinite article. What kind of nonsense is that, right? Well, it's actually quite easy to figure it out. Maybe this would be something you learn in between A1, A2. I would say something around there. Maybe not the first thing, but you would like to know this because it's quite common with Romanian speakers. Less common with Romanian speakers as a second language, but definitely native Romanian would use this quite a lot. So, pe masă am pus o farfurie, that means on the table I put a plate, right? O, if you want to use this first item here, this first tip here, obviously pe masă am pus o farfurie can mean also on the table I put one plate, right? That's quite straightforward, that's quite easy. But then what happens if you have 3 plates and one of them is dirty? So one of them, when you select one out of a group, as it is here, am aici 3 farfurii, una este murdară, so basically you're selecting one from the 3. From the 3 plates that you have, one of them is dirty. So you have 1 out of 3, right? One of them is dirty. In this situation, una, when you think about it, because it adds this definite article at the end, right? It will be the main character in the sentence, so it'll become a subject. So this is what happens here. One of them, or simply put like one, right? Because in Romanian you don't have this of them. You could actually have una dintre ele, one of them, but many times it's avoided. Like, yeah, this means una dintre ele. So this is what happens here. You change the role, right? Like you, instead of just having you cannot have o este murdară. Yeah, let's get that straight away. You don't have o este murdară or another form of o. You have una. That's how you say that. Or the second example here, la fermă avem niște cai. Yeah, so the farm we have some horses. This is the plural. Yeah, unii. And yeah, if you use this, it would be unii dintre ei. Yeah, this is just any of the two, depending on the gender. Unii pasc pe de acolo. So basically, what am I saying with unii here? I'm saying that some of them, yeah, some of the horses are grazing over there on the hill. That's it. It's not a very difficult, as I said, it's not a very difficult topic. It's just that you have to be aware that if you use unii, una, unele, yeah, you need to kind of know what has been talked already, because you cannot just say, I mean, you could say una, unul, when you refer to, let's write it here. So if you just say, if you start out of the blue a sentence with unul, una, or unii, yeah, it means usually people, yeah, like it's just a guy, a woman, some dudes, right? It's more informal, and this can work, definitely. But bear in mind that if you just start a sentence with unul, una, you don't really have a context to refer to, so you assume it's people. However, if you have a sentence before, or a context, or a conversation, you would usually, as it has been with those two examples here, you kind of refer it to what has been taught before. Cool. That's the second thing. And finally, one that's a bit more, I would say it's an A2. I don't think it's anything more difficult than that, to be honest. But it's something that, if you didn't have the chance for somebody to explain to you this, you have to know that niște and unii is not the same. And actually the previous example stands as a clarification, I hope, because look at this, yeah? Look at this specific group of two sentences, yeah? La fermă avem niște cai, unii pasc pe de acolo. So at the farmhouse, or the farm, there's no house there. We have some horses, some random horses, yeah? Some horses. I'm not saying what breed they are, I'm not saying what color they are, I'm not saying what they eat. I'm just saying we have some horses. General, yeah? Some, it could be anything. Pigs, cows, whatever. Some of them graze on the hill there. So what this unii is basically selecting from those horses some of them. So for this unii, you need to have the idea of a group previously. You're picking somebody or some from the group. Yeah, so niște is a bunch of or some. It's a very generic idea, no extra info. That's it. Am niște feluri de înghețată care nu îmi plac, so I have some types of ice cream I don't like. Yeah, you're not saying anything about them. You're not picking from any specific types of ice cream. You're not saying that I have, I don't know, the fruit, from the fruit variety, I don't like some. Well, in that case, you will be actually the second one. Yeah, because you're picking from there. So to use Unii, Unele, you need some items from a group. And that's where you also use this dintre. Yeah. Unele femei poartă tocuri, yeah, so some women wear heels. Here, if you had niște, you had absolutely no context, no idea what women. But if you say unele femei, you're kind of saying some out of all the women in the world wear heels. If you say niște femei poartă tocuri, you could potentially refer to some context the other person doesn't know, and the other person might be very confused. Yeah, so if you use niște, you kind of need to talk already about a place that you have seen it, a country, I don't know, any kind of context. And then toți vom mânca, dar unii dintre noi nu vor ciorbă. Yeah, so all of us will eat, but some of us do not want ciorbă. Unii dintre noi, some of us. Yeah, pick from us, from our group, pick some. That's it. I mean, again, indefinite article is not super difficult. You just have to really be aware. If you get more advanced, right, with Romanian, you really want to be aware of these 3 tips. And apart from them, it's actually extremely similar to the English usage. I would say that if you want to know them very well, just learn the words, which are very few. Once again, there are only 6. Be aware of the difference between genitive and dative. Maybe learn the cases a bit better so you know when to use it and how to use it. Because, right, you have unei, unui, unor, that at the first sight they might look like foreign language, even though they are. Pun unintended there. And there is probably one thing that I didn't really mention, and I just want to specify that as well. Here in the second point, you have unul, una, uni, unele. This is a nominative accusative, as I said, but you can also have this exact same situation with genitive dative by adding this a at the end of the genitive dative indefinite article. So you will look something like unuia, uneia, and unora. Yeah, so to some people, to one guy, to one girl, something. It's very easy to get if you can understand everything else. Right, so that was about it. Indefinite articles, as I said in the intro as well, they are a very interesting magic land. It's full of tricks, but you, for the most part, if you're speaking English, have those tricks in your sleeve, so shouldn't really be concerned about it. Apart from that, what I can say is careful with the 3 tips that I just gave. Enjoy the rest of the material from the Romanian Academy and this season specifically with articles. Until the next time, I hope you can find a moment to give it a like and subscribe to the channel, because that really helps us. And also, if you're interested in more like tutoring or group classes, check out the links in the description. There are a Calendly and a Discord community. Contact me and we can sort something out. Right, that was it about the indefinite articles. From the Romanian Academy, we're saying la revedere.